Hello, everybody, and welcome to another fantastic episode of Truth Wanted. I am your host tonight, Objectively Dan. This is the live call-in show that happens every single week, Fridays at 7 p.m. Central Time, where we talk to people about what they believe and why. And every single week, I have a special guest. This week is no different. I have Jessica Bluemke Greiff on with me tonight. Jessica, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I nailed the name, Jessica. I got it.
did.
You were worried, but
I
I
saw
got
the fear in your eyes when you started saying it. Like, there's no way this is gonna go well.
So Jessica, you are a writer and podcaster. You are co-host of the Friendly Atheist podcast.
Correct.
And you also do a podcast on Twin Peaks. Now, here's what I just realized, but we were talking a little bit before the show. Twin Peaks and X-Files are two different things. And I was asking you, hey, remember that? What was that one episode where Scully finds that dead body,
baby.
and you didn't know what the hell I was talking about, and then I said the names of the characters, and I was talking about X-Files, not Twin Peaks. So
I genuinely was like trying so hard to like meet you where you were, and like, okay, I'm gonna figure out what he's talking about, and I'm gonna like lead him back into what Twin Peaks is. You just straight up wrong show.
Yes, and it started off with me asking you, can you explain the plot to Twin Peaks in 10 words or less? And you couldn't do it then. I'm wondering if you can do it now.
The answer was no then. Now, it is a supernatural murder mystery.
Okay, supernatural murder mystery.
Also, quirky, weird town folk.
Okay, folks, I got 7 fingers up. Those of you listening at home.
Cherry pie coffee. Got it.
Cherry pie. Okay. All right, that's 10. Word limit reached.
It gave no interest about what the show is. It gave no details, but I got it in 10 words, and that's all that matters.
Hey, that's it. That's all you had to do. And assignment complete. You can turn that in. C's get degrees. So anyway, Jessica, welcome to the show. Again, folks, this is a live call-in show. So please, if you like to talk to me or Jessica tonight, we'll be taking your calls in just a little bit, but you need to call the number on the screen to do that. We got some wide open call, what do you call that? Call windows, lines? Call lines. Yeah, lines. I think lines.
Is this your first episode of this, or?
It sounds like it, doesn't it? But you'd be surprised. I could be worse, but I just ate some Asian food and it was a lot greasier than I thought it was going to be. So I think that's going through my system right now.
You were burping a lot on the pre-show.
It wasn't good, but I'm doing my best. And that's
we're all doing
our
best.
That's all I can do. So
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. So you talk about Twin Peaks. That's the thing you do. But, and that fits the MO of the show, don't get me wrong. But I'm also interested in your work with doing stuff with the Friendly Atheist. So what is that like? What do you do on your podcast?
It's Hemet, Meta, and myself. We've been doing the show since like 2013 or 2014. And it's kind of evolved to its current state. And it's just basically a news brief. It's about an hour and a half every week of us discussing anything that happened in the news that's related to sort of like lowercase a atheism, if that makes sense. So it's separation of church and state issues, of course. It's also LGBTQ rights. It's feminism is my favorite, drum to beat all the time. So it's really just, we discuss anything that's happening in the world and politics that can be traced back to sort of religion, kind of.
Yeah, there you go. I like you made that distinction there of like lowercase atheism. What's that distinction there?
Well, and I say that because today we did talk a little bit about the new atheist movement that was so big 10, 15 years ago. And so when I say little a atheist, which is a thing I just made up, it's not an expression I've ever used before, but it's just basically like generally stuff that is related, that is being impacted by religion in a way that maybe it shouldn't be. So obviously we're not talking about like church news, but we're talking about how legislators want to, ban abortion at 6 weeks or something like that. And the reasons that exists is because of the Christian agenda in our country.
Right.
So yeah, it's a lot of, and sometimes it's a pretty soft connection to atheism, but it's it's generally more social justice stuff and really lefty stuff.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good distinction to make, because like a lot of people, like I've occasionally had the conversation where I explain like what this show is and like what I do online and stuff, and people ask me like, oh, is it like an anti-Christian show? Like, is that what your whole thing? It's like, well, we wouldn't talk about Christianity so much if it didn't affect my life so much and everybody else.
I don't want to talk about Christianity anymore. They just keep making me.
Yeah. It's like, well, only in the sense that it's going to bother us or bother me rather, and I say us as a collective, but like really, I mean everybody, not just atheists. I think the kind of stuff you guys cover on Friendly Atheists as well affects worldwide people too, not just United States Christians or non-Christians either. Yeah.
Right. And thank you. And I think the reason I think that distinction is important is because we don't bring up like, oh, this Christian pastor or this Muslim person did this, and aren't they stupid? And like, let's look at what dumb things they believe in. And like, oh, haha, Jesus, LOL. Like, that's not our jam. It is very much, you believe whatever you want to believe, and that's completely fine. But the second that you try to push that on me or on your congregants, well, I guess congregants isn't a good example, but as soon as you start pushing that upon other people, then that's when it becomes something that I think is worth discussing. I don't care what specific traditions certain people have, like even if they're definitely not feminist or anything like that, that's your choice. But as soon as you start making laws based upon that kind of anti-woke bullshit, then have we hit 2 minutes?
Well, 7 minutes in now, but we're getting there.
We're good. Okay. So yeah, it's just basically about how religion kind of impacts us.
Yeah, I get that. It's like, and this is what's interesting too. Maybe we should talk about this because I don't know. This has come up a couple times on this show. I mean, this about a month ago we did our Theist Month, and we had a lot of different Christian perspectives on. And one of the most consistent things I kept seeing from people was, oh, but these people aren't real Christians, because they were mostly pretty progressive folks that were on here. And I think people have this idea of like what Christian is, and like what the atheist community has been fighting against for a long time is different from what some individuals would call their own personal sense of Christianity and stuff too. Because like you bring up this point of like, oh, well, if it doesn't matter if their beliefs aren't really harming anybody. And this is like this continuing thing where it's like, well, what is the line there? Is it harm? Is it just harm, or is there some sort of grand, is it more about like what we think is true or methods of true stuff? Because I think some of the biggest things I saw on there from the audience was, oh, well, these aren't real Christians. And to my point was, well, yeah, they are though. Like you are a Christian if you say that you are, and like this isn't just a couple of people who are like super radically different. Like these represent the opinions of millions of people. So at one point, what do you even call Christianity? Like if Christianity changes so much over these past couple of years, I wonder what we're even fighting against in like the next 10 years, right? Because it's not just Christianity, it's something else, right?
Yeah, like, I think the last 5 years has shown us that while the religious right is dangerous, it tends to be dangerous not because they are religious, but because they are on the right and therefore want to withhold certain privileges from other people for themselves. So I think that's an interesting question, because I would argue you still have, the Catholic Church has a lot of influence over a lot of things, but and people do purport to say I am anti-abortion because my religion teaches me X. But I feel like there are Christians across the board who have as many different points of view as anybody could.
Right.
And so I think it's more conservatism that is to me, the problem versus just Christianity.
Yeah, just the religion itself. You think there's it's almost like an ideological sort of centerpiece in there that becomes more of a problem than like some of the, I don't know. It's hard to describe because like Christianity has represented so many things at so many different times. So how could we possibly say, well, I'm against Christianity? Like, what does that even mean?
it
out
doesn't
of
mean
context,
anything.
that doesn't mean anything. So it's
No.
like I am more against kind of this kind of conservative ideology, this ideology that I don't think vibes with the people today, that I think that we can move past and make better on. So like
Right.
is that what I'm against at the end of the day? But why? But there is a tie there to religion too. I don't know. We're going,
Well,
we're going to where places I didn't expect to go in the first 10 minutes.
Well, it's conservatism, right? It's not just it's nothing besides we like the world the way it is right this second, or 50 years ago, or 150 years ago, and anything that disrupts that is bad. And even if that means that people are being left out and not having their full rights, that's fine with those people as long as they personally have whatever they need, which is their little white picket fence world. I think being an atheist has always been an interesting self-describing mechanism, because it's very, atheism says we don't believe that there is a God, or we don't believe in this supernatural writ large, or whatever. It doesn't mean anything else about me. Most atheists are pretty progressive, because religion often is the reason that people have the views that they have, that are, oh, gay people are bad, women should stay in the home, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's not that I'm anti-religion. I think I'm just anti-progress.
Anti-progress? I think that's what you meant to say. Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm gonna get kicked out of atheism.
The internet. The great thing is it's gonna be there forever and ever.
Yeah, no problems.
So,
that's great. Cool.
Don't think about it too much. Yeah. No, it's great. I see your point. The one like sort of thought that I always go to when it comes to this conversation, though, is okay, yeah, we can let people live in their own little bubbles and stuff. Okay, like maybe that's a thing, but there's always going to be children involved. You know what I mean? There's always going to be someone who can be victim to a system, whether it's like a huge political power like the Catholic Church or something, or even just your local Christian private school that doesn't report misconduct to the state or something. There seems to be the the potential there for something to happen, or for someone's rights to be violated in some way. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I do. And that's actually a really interesting point. I would say that, and this is not defending religion, it is not defending the Catholic Church, but I would say that anytime you put an adult in charge of young people with no oversight, you're going to run into those kinds of problems, because as long as there are adults in power, there will be adults who take advantage of their power.
That's true. And I'm not talking about sexual misconduct here, strictly speaking.
No, God, just anything.
Yeah, just like victims of ideology, right? Like, I would consider myself someone who grew up in a very Christian home, a victim of that ideology, because it affected the way that I treated like LGBT people. It affected the way that I understood science, and that I understood like academia as a whole. Like, that was a result of my upbringing. And so that did cause harm for myself at the end of the day, but also to the people around me. So,
but is there anybody who can't look back on their upbringing and not find a thing that genuinely like kind of fucked up their worldview? Because I didn't grow up religious, and there's a lot of things I had to unlearn.
Yeah. So I guess there is a common denominator here, and maybe that is just conservatism in some sense or another,
That's genuinely how I feel. Like, I do not understand the sort of the obsession with controlling other people and making it seems so counterintuitive and so opposite of what they say they want. We want small government so people can do whatever they want, but with the same breath also put in draconian abortion bans. And in my point of view, people who are liberal, people who are more progressive, have a much more live and let live outlook on life, which seems to me that would be what conservatives are looking for. Live your life, I'll live mine. We'll all just kind of do our own little thing. And I don't know how people can say both. I don't want the government to tell me what to do. I don't want people to tell me what to do. But also, if you don't live your life the way I think you're supposed to live it, whether it's have the right job, look the right way, marry the right person, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you know, when we talk about legislation over other people's lives too, that's what gets me. Because I hope that 50 years from now, 100 years from now, if there even is a human civilization that can look back on what I'm doing, like I hope that they could look at me and say, like, yeah, Dan was okay for the time he was living in, but he wasn't woke like we are today. You know what I mean? Like, I hope there's still more that we can learn about ourselves.
It's so funny. I was just having a conversation with somebody about like what is the thing that we do now that we still think we're being as progressive as we can, but we're not. My guess for the next sort of step in like, wait, why we've been doing this the whole time? I think they're going to start killing romance storylines for children's programming, because it is objectively weird that like all children's movies and TV, not all, but children's movies and TVs always have like a 16-year-old girl falling in love and getting married. And like, I don't think that's a great motivation or story to teach our children, boy or girls.
This is a hot take. Wait, I want to figure this out. You mean like teenagers falling in love specifically? You don't mean kids?
Well, I'm talking about like, say, a Disney movie where you have, I'm thinking of The Little Mermaid is what it's in my head. Okay. She plays a 16-year-old girl and her whole jam is, I'm going to fall in love. Thank you. I'm so sorry. That was,
it's different. Mermaids and humans are different. I'm just saying.
But she, like, her whole goal is to marry this dude, and that's the goal of the person. And when you, when you compare that to like Moana, where she's trying to, I want to say save Hawaii. I've only seen it once. I really liked it, but like, why do we always want to have romance storylines for like children's movies and TV? It just seems odd.
I see. So you're saying like 70 to 80% of everything Disney has ever made is basically problematic because like that is
I'm not saying it's problematic. Like, I am saying that we're in 20 years, we're going to look back at the 80s and 90s Disney and be like, why were all of our princesses obsessed with getting married? And why did we think that was an okay lesson to teach our children? Do I think it was horribly damaging? No. Do I think that it sort of fucks you up if you are taught your entire life that the purpose of growing up and finding yourself is to get married?
Yeah.
That's not a great lesson, because not everybody wants to get married or does get married, and that's fine.
Yeah, and it also goes back to like, you know, gender roles and stuff, expectations for how things are supposed to happen and those things. Yeah, I definitely see that. Yeah, it is interesting because you wouldn't think like really little kids would be interested in that stuff. But I guess, I mean, those movies sell all the time. So I don't know, you know, what do I know? I don't work in marketing for Disney. I'm sure they got all kinds of crazy stats on what psychoanalysis on 6-year-olds. And
they don't need our advice.
Yeah. But hey, maybe that'll change in the next couple of years. Maybe a lot of people with your ideas will be writing our movies. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, I think we should be getting to some calls here. What do you think, Jessica?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's talk to some strangers.
Okay. Yes. We are not following the advice of my parents, and that I am talking to strangers on the internet every single week, and I have a good time at it, actually. But before we get to that, I need to shout out the patron of the week. Every single week, I get to shout out a single patron that donates on patreon.com/truthwanted for supporting this show. And this patron of the week's name is, drum roll please. Oh, it's Eric Dolliver. Thank you, Eric Dolliver, for donating on truthwanted.com/ wait, not truthwanted.com, patreon.com/truthwanted. Man, that Asian food is killing me right now, Jessica. It's not doing great for my body. But it is what it is. But anyways, thank you, Eric. And thank you to everybody else that donates on Patreon. We really appreciate it. This show is run mostly by volunteers, including myself, who do not get paid for this production. All that money goes towards getting equipment and all the other fun stuff that goes into production for this show. So thank you guys for supporting us there. And now, Jessica, I think it's time to get to some calls. What do you say?
Yeah.